It's been over 7 years since Night Dive Studios launched the Kickstarter for the System Shock remake, and after several delays, including an engine switch and restarting completely from scratch, it feels surreal it might finally be released this March of 2023. I downloaded the demo from Steam to get my hype in check, and I have to say, this might be worth the hype. Hi, I'm Mason, and let's talk about my first impressions of the System Shock remake. For those of you who don't know what System Shock is about, System Shock takes place on a cyberpunk world during the year 2072. You play the role of a nameless hacker who has been taken hostage by the Tri-Optimum Corporation.
Turn around! Now!
Edward Diego, an executive for Tri-Optimum, offers the hacker a military-grade cybernetic implant, and all charges against him dropped if he hacks into the Citadel Station's AI, called Shodan. After removing the ethical restraints on Shodan, the hacker is surgically given the promised implant, but he wakes up 6 months later from a medically induced coma with the station under control of Shodan. The crew have been mutated, transformed into cyberganic slaves to Shodan, or killed by the now hostile security robots. The hacker must shut down Shodan and make his way off Citadel Station. System Shock is a monumental game. It was the science fiction successor to Looking Glass Studios' fantasy series Ultima Underworld. It expanded upon their gameplay and world-building philosophies, and not only went on to evolve the budding immersive sim genre, but the video game industry as a whole. Without it, titles such as BioShock, Dishonored, and Prey 2017 might not have existed. The problem is, the original System Shock is heavily dated in almost every aspect, which makes it hard for newcomers who have difficulty playing older games. So Night Dive's remake of System Shock might be the key for these newcomers who are interested in the cyberpunk-infused horrors aboard the Citadel Station. The remake feels like a modern first-person shooter. It has an improved HUD and better controls that are more streamlined than the original game. The original HUD was a bit of a mess, especially when compared to most games that come later. The gameplay loop, however, it remains exactly the same. You explore, solve puzzles, loot everything, and choose how to go about enemies, whether that's sneaking or guns blazing. Night Dive have made some creative additions though, and I can safely say I have positive thoughts. The first major change in the System Shock remake can be seen as soon as you click New Game. The original opening cutscene has been replaced with the hacker's apartment being fully interactive and explorable. It gives the player a good idea of what System Shock will be like. There's even an animation of the hacker flipping off the security, which gives him some personality, unlike in the original where he was more of a blank canvas for the player. If you're a returning player of the original System Shock, you'll notice quickly the level design mostly remains the same, but there are some minor changes. The medical room's ramp has been changed into a locked office, leaving the hacker to use a vent to get inside and grab that iconic code for the door. Some of the medical wings now have cyborg surgeons operating on the crew members, turning them into cyborgs themselves. It's a hint of how the remake might expand upon the lore of System Shock, showing how Shodan converts the crew into her zealots. You can kill the surgeons, but only with the full release will we see if it has any consequences. The remake also gives us the cargo lift, which is the System Shock equivalent to the Resident Evil item box. You can store whatever you want in the cargo lift and retrieve it later, even on multiple floors, hence the name cargo lift. An addition that comes from System Shock 2 are the vending machines. You can buy health, berserk, or energy using credits you find along your explorations, or by recycling any junk or unwanted items in the newly added recycler. The security cameras return, but function the same as the original, meaning destroying them only lowers that floor's security level. In System Shock 2, and almost every other game with security cameras, the cameras would sound the alarm when the player is detected. It's an odd choice to not update the mechanic, but I gotta applaud Night Dive for staying true to the original game. There's a good amount of weapons to choose from in System Shock, and the shooting feels good. The pistol is quick and responsive, and the spark gun is fun to use for extra damage, but what I don't like is the melee combat. It's clunky and simply feels off. The game gives you a large wrench to use as your melee weapon, but I felt like I had to be close enough that I could give the mutants a hug just to land a hit, and the camera swings along when you swing the wrench, which is disorienting, and it causes more confusion over if I hit the enemy or not. The enemies don't respond half the time they are hit, making it hard to tell if you're doing anything. I also don't understand why you can't block incoming attacks. It's a giant wrench. It should be able to block at least a couple of hits. I recommend finding the guns as soon as you can and avoiding close quarters combat as much as possible. The enemy AI are not the brightest either. They either know where you are, or you'll stand in front of them and they won't react to you at all. Night Dive Studios have taken an interesting approach to the graphics design of the System Shock remake, and my thoughts are mixed. When it comes to the remake's art direction, System Shock does a great job of sticking close to its roots. The remake faithfully looks like the 1990s take on Cyberpunk, with the neon blues and purple walls of Citadel Station. But Night Dive have put in some darker and creepier additions that come from System Shock's 2's style of horror. And it's kind of how I imagine a 90s laser tag arena during a zombie apocalypse, and I love it. All jokes aside, it is downright creepy to only hear the mutants' moans reverberate down a darkened hallway. Having Shodan cyborgs search for you, and all you can hear are their cultish pledges to Shodan herself, or the elongated faces of the bodies scattered across the station. The game over death scene has also been remade. It follows the original game almost exactly, but it's far creepier. While the art style and animations are great, where I disagree with Night Dive's graphical choices are the pixelated textures. When you look from a distance or just glance over some screenshots from the remake, System Shock seems to go for a stylized look with great lighting and shadow effects that really bring the horrors on Citadel Station to life, especially when compared to its flatter original version. Once you get up close, however, the textures are pixelated. I'm not meaning blurry like when you look right at a wall in a first-person shooter, but actually pixelated as if they're trying to resemble an older video game. Some good examples of this choice is the hacker's left arm tattoo or these low-poly donuts on his desk. I'm hoping this look grows on me as I play the full release, but as of right now, I think it's a unique approach to presenting the world, and I give props to Night Dive for their creativity, but I honestly find it jarring to look at. Other than that, I really like the look of System Shock. You get the sense something wrong has happened on this station, and the sound design has also been updated to match this tone. As you explore the station, you'll come across audio logs that will give details of the crew's final moments. They're usually next to their dysmorphic bodies. The logs have been slightly changed, but still tell the same overall story. They've each been re-recorded with better voice acting, really showing the despair in the crew's final moments. The voice actress for Shodan, Terry Brosius, has also returned to re-record her lines for Shodan.
Directive to Cyborg F-71. Move mutagen experiment V5 to Beta Grove on the executive level.
Overall, Night Dive Studios have done a wonderful job at bringing this near 30-year-old game to the modern day. Their ambition shows, and while it might not be perfect or a AAA remake on the scale of Dead Space, the System Shock remake has the potential to be one of the most faithful and thoughtful remakes to bring this old game into 2023. It's fun, runs great, and I highly recommend downloading the demo yourself to see if System Shock is right for you. Thank you so much for watching. If you're excited for the full release of System Shock, drop a like and comment below. Let's talk video games. If you want to hear more thoughts and opinions from 3 friends who simply enjoy talking about games, subscribe. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.